I make this next statement with all forms of self-awareness with my colleagues who are in and around our studios. I have been drinking less sugary drink over this particular festive. I have been drinking a lot of water, mainly because I was in a part of the country with excessive heat, and the only thing that could quench my thirst was a icy glass of water. And since I returned back home, I've been drinking fewer and fewer, particularly fizzy sugary drink. It's not been in our fridge, come to think of it, for the majority of this last vacation. But I say this with great irony because this morning at 5:30 I did have a little bit of a pang for the sugars, and I went to the vending machine and I got myself a bottle of fizzy drink. So right here next to me in the studio, I do have a bottle of fizzy drink. But there has been a worldwide study that has found that South Africa is among the nations worst hit by the health burden when it comes to drinking lots and lots of sugary drink. There was a recent study that highlighted the escalation in global health inequalities, with the fastest growth in linked to disease being detected in Africa, where sugary drinks were tied to more than 1 in 5 new diabetes cases, more than 1 in 10 new heart disease cases. It comes from a study by Tufts University, which shows that South Africa, Colombia, Mexico have been hardest hit, according to Tufts University, by this obsession with sugary drinks. Petronell Kruger is the Programmes Manager at the Healthy Living Alliance here in South Africa. Good morning, Petronell. Really appreciate your time. Just how obsessed are we as South Africans with sugary drinks? My 5 a.m. walking to the vending machine and at our office buying a bottle of sugary drink aside.
Good morning. Well, it seems that the data shows that that makes you an essential South African, as it seems that South Africa is reaching an all-time high in terms of diabetes cases. And as you said, there's a very clear link between the consumption of sodas or sugary drinks and these cases of diabetes, as well as heart disease, which is something that a lot of people don't think about. In fact, we see that diabetes is the fastest growing disease in South Africa in terms of killing the most people. And soon it will surpass tuberculosis as the number one reason why a South African is likely to die.
We've had this conversation before, but around high caffeinated energy drinks. The study conducted by Tufts University saying that particularly in countries in the global south, like Mexico, like Colombia, like South Africa, there's a connection between young people being targeted by influencers, social media, and the promotion of branded sugary drinks, particularly these high caffeine energy drinks.
Yes, so one of the things that we've seen specifically in South Africa, as we've seen limited but effective policies being introduced, like the sugar tax, when those taxes are introduced, we actually see that there's an increase in advertising expenditure by soda companies. And right now, their biggest target market is middle-income men below 45. And really, they are targeting children specifically because sugar is addictive. So if you can get a child as a consumer, you can have a lifelong customer effectively. And that's one of the reasons that Statistics South Africa says that we're seeing this as a looming healthcare crisis, because the high caffeinated drinks, as you mentioned, are incredibly dangerous. In countries like Latvia, it's banned completely from being advertised to children. And in other countries, there has to be disclaimers on the actual containers of these drinks to indicate that it's dangerous. But really, it's the things that we don't think about necessarily as equally dangerous, like even fruit juices, has become quite a significant contributor to our sugary intake. And I think it's because a lot of parents believe that it's healthier for your children. But if you compare a fruit juice with sort of a standard soda, you'll see that it has the same or even higher levels of sugar.
Petronell, is there connection between that middle to low income market and the proliferation of high caffeinated sugary drinks? What's it saying about the student who feels that they need a high caffeine drink to stay up and study, or the blue collar worker who feels that he needs a particular very, very cheap energy drink that he can pick up at the garage while waiting for a taxi? Why he needs that in order to get to the job this morning? Is there any study in this connection between a middle and lower income market and them being the target for these drinks?
Yeah, so we've actually seen quite a number of studies looking specifically at how, so we call it ultra-processed products because these sugary drinks contain a lot of sort of industrial additives, which is designed to firstly, like I said, to have a sort of a higher level of palatability, so it's nicer to drink. So that's oftentimes sort of associated with a stress relief. But also it's very easy to store. So oftentimes, if you do have, for example, the beverage you mentioned that you purchased, lots of people would have access to those beverages in areas where it might be difficult to trust the quality of water, and it is oftentimes seen as sort of a less expensive access point to calories, which is very important in a country where we're still seeing significant levels of hunger. But of course, it sort of feeds into the problem because we also see that excessive consumption of sugar leads to mental health issues and can actually exacerbate those circumstances that might have one looking for that sugary drink. So in a lot of ways, you can sort of draw parallels between drinking soda and smoking. And I don't say that lightly. It's becoming a problem that might even surpass tobacco use.
And also, what about the marketing of what is seen as these active ingredients? There's added taurine, there's added guarana. I don't know what guarana is specifically, but I know if something is advertising added guarana, it's going to give me a little bit more vip for the day to tackle this very, very difficult South African economy, Petronell.
So what you're referring to, we call health claims, and it's a very big problem because it creates a health halo. So people, like you said, you see that there's, 15 added vitamins and minerals in this product, so therefore you believe that it must be good for you. One of the good things that we hope to see this year is last year the Department of Health published a draft regulation where if a product contains excessive levels of salts or sugar or contains an artificial sweetener element or is really high in fat, those claims will no longer be permitted on the product. And that's really just to protect the consumers because it's incredibly difficult for the average consumer to keep up with all of these fancy names. And every time, okay, we now finally understand glucose is a form of sugar, then the food scientists go back to the laboratories and they just make a new type of additive and then it has a new name. So it's difficult to keep up with that, and that's why regulations like that will be very important to help us make informed decisions.
Just a message from a listener here, and I know that there is the difference in taste now and also the cost in manufacturing some of these products. There's a difference in the taste with a product that is made with 100% cane sugar and a product that is made with high fructose corn syrup. Is there a medical difference to a product, let's just say a bottle of fizzy drink, for the purpose of this conversation, if a product uses 100% cane sugar and something that uses the high fructose syrup?
So I will say I'm not the best person to answer that question, but in terms of sodas, I'm going to hedge my bets here to say that the answer is no. Because one of the problems is that even if it is a quote-unquote natural sugar that's found in your actual soda, because it's in a liquid form, your body doesn't actually realize that it's ingesting those calories. So it doesn't sate you. So you're ingesting food, but you still feel hungry. However, there is something to be said, especially about artificial sweeteners that we're seeing emerging now. We need to just be careful of that and keep our eye on the science. The World Health Organization has blown the whistle on select artificial sweeteners to say that we need to, make sure that it's not carcinogenic, so it doesn't cause cancer. So that's just something, because we obviously see these soda companies now reducing the amount of sugar because of the tax and then adding artificial sweetener. And it's just something that we need to keep our eye on if we're trying to replace sugar-sweetened beverages with artificial sweetened beverages.
Really appreciate your time, Petronell Kruger. She's the programming manager at Heala.